TV. The topic I want to talk about today really I was going to make it for people that have home-based businesses. So many people today are finding ways to become entrepreneurs and work out of their home, but as I thought it through and started taking a few notes just what I wanted to talk about specifically to you, I realized that really this topic could really relate to anyone that really wants to get things done. I mean, today's time, more and more, I think we're overburdened with things to do, tasks and projects, if you will. So one of the things that I was recently talking to a client of mine that I've been coaching, and we're having this conversation in regards to working out of the home. And he had mentioned that he has a home-based business, and he was talking to another person, and they had mentioned to him that they said, "How could you work out of your home? I mean, man, there's no way I could work out of my home. I just wouldn't be able to get anything done." Well, here's something that I learned several years ago from one of my mentors. He said this. He said, "Chris, either you will learn to discipline yourself or someone else will." The fact that you're going to have discipline, it's irrelevant. You're going to have it. Either you're going to have it and put it on yourself, or someone else is going to discipline you. You're going to put yourself in an environment where someone's going to have to tell you what to do. So you can either learn on directing yourself, which I would highly recommend and advise, or put yourself in a place where you're just going to have to show up somewhere and go, "What do I do?" And then just do whatever someone tells you. Really, it's just a matter about accepting responsibility. That's what self-discipline's about. And one of the things that I really wanted to kind of drive home today was this, is that right now as you sit there, there are probably several different things that you have on a list to do, or you should write down as a list of things to do that you haven't done. I had a couple of these this past week myself. One was I had these 2 boxes that were shipped to me when they were supposed to go to someone else. I ordered these two boxes, but they weren't supposed to come to me. They're supposed to go directly to the person I ordered them for. So that means I have to take these boxes, put them in my car, fill out a shipping form, and drop them off somewhere. Now, it may not sound like much, but to me, it seemed like a pain in the butt. So I kept putting the boxes right in the middle of the 2 bays in our garage, and I constantly walked around them for over a week. And I thought about them every time. I don't know how many times I thought about, "Oh, I got to do that." But I did. Well, today I said, "You know what? I'm going to get this done." So I sat down and I filled out the forms to ship them. And I put them in my car. It took me about 3 minutes. I think if I timed myself and all the times I thought about it and walked around these boxes, it probably cost me more than 3 minutes. There was another thing that in regards to a client of mine that I needed to call. I didn't want to call them because they committed to me that they're going to do something. And they hadn't done it, right? And so I knew when I'm making this call that I didn't want them to get defensive with me, but I was still going to have to call them on not following through with something they said they were going to do on behalf of our relationship. Well, it was a call that I hadn't been wanting to take, so I put it off. Well, finally I got to it, but it wasn't a big deal. The story I made up in my mind, well, it wasn't that big of a deal. So the fact of the matter is that many of the things that we put aside or that we don't do, that we put off, most of them, they don't take a lot of time. They don't take much time at all. In fact, we spend more time thinking about them than we do doing them. So here's a little strategy that I put together to really help kind of get out of that condition. Because no matter what's going to happen, I think as life goes on, you're still going to have instances when something's going to come up and you're going to put it off. You're just going to put it aside. It's part of our human nature. But these 2 strategies that you can employ that really can help you get out of that situation. And here's the first one. The first one is if you ever find yourself off track. So let's say you're working out of the home or you're working at the office. This can happen at work just as easily, and you're not being productive. Maybe you got sidetracked. I know it's happened to me. Like, oh, it looks like it might rain. Let me go on to a telecast. And I'm on a telecast, and then I look at, oh my gosh, I wonder how the weather is in California where my friend Brad lives. Let me go check and see what's going on in El Cajon. Before you know it, it's like a rabbit hole that I went down, and I'm reading the news on Wall Street Journal, and 10 minutes later, I'm so much further from where I wanted to be. So the first strategy that I utilize that works really well for me is this. It's just real simple. I acknowledge when I'm off balance. As a martial artist, you've heard me talk about this before, is that when I work with people in the dojo, and the Chief Grand Master taught me this, I'm not going to claim that I came up with this idea, but it's really simple, is that he said, "Chris, I cannot train you to not lose your balance. But I can train you for the amount of time that you lose your balance to when you get it back. I can train you to minimize that. So that's what life's about. It's training yourself to minimize balance. It's not to avoid it, because it's going to happen. See, getting off track and being productive, that's just a loss of balance. So what you want to do is you want to get back in balance. You want to get back on track. And the best way to do that is just to go, hey, get back to work. So as soon as I realize that, hey, I'm not being productive, I'm not doing what I needed to do, back to work. And that's just right to my mind, back to work. And I'll say it out loud if I need to say it out loud. But that's that impulse for me to get back on track. What do I need to be doing right now? Do I have a list I'm working from? And maybe if you're not working from a list, you should. It doesn't mean you have to, over chunk everything down, but at least make a list of things. And I can talk about that in a separate video. The second strategy, okay, is this one. Is that as soon as you realize you've been off track, you say, I got to get back on track. You may ask yourself this question: why am I off track? I mean, really, what is it that what is it that I'm avoiding? And I ask you that question right now. What are you avoiding? See, there's something about what it is that you're not doing. Your mind purposely got you off track. It did for a reason, because it didn't want to do something. Whatever you're going to do next, you probably didn't, you associated pain with it, or lack of pleasure, or something that you just didn't want to do. Well, the fact of the matter is, you can face it and say, hey, you know what? Why am I avoiding this? Why don't I want to do this? If it's picking up a phone to call a client, why am I avoiding it? Well, because it might be uncomfortable. Well, guess what? What's going to be more uncomfortable? Not facing it now, because things like that build up later, and there's more pain later, right? And so we sometimes live too much in the present moment in regards to that pain-pleasure threshold, when we should really think about the future. If I don't do it now, how will tomorrow look? And sooner or later, we realize that by not doing something today, it's going to cost us a lot more tomorrow. So employ those two strategies. Number one, creating awareness and saying, hey, get back on track. No, don't beat yourself up. Too many people beat themselves up over this stuff. Hey, it's all right. It's human nature. You lose your balance, get your balance back, right? And step number two, what am I avoiding here? What am I avoiding? And get back on track, and you'll be so much more productive.